Every Sunday, we are back again with a very special episode of Hello Kolkata. Our guest today is someone who works behind the scenes, quietly shaping conversations that influence how business, policymakers, and institutions think about the future of Bengal and the country. Our guest is Angana Guha Roy Chowdhury. She is the Assistant Director General at the Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry, one of India's oldest and most influential industry bodies. It's a great honor for us to have her on the show. With over 2 decades, almost close to 2 decades of experience at the chamber, Angana has played a key role in building bridges between industry and government, strengthening Bengal's presence in national policy conversations, supporting startups and technology entrepreneurship, and driving important dialogues around energy, environment, and sustainability. Among her many accomplishments, from setting up the Bengal Chamber's Delhi office to helping shape global conversations through platforms like COP26, her work sits at the intersection of policy, business, and long-term impact. Today on Hello Kolkata, we proudly bring Angana Guha Roy Chowdhury onto the main stage to talk to us about her journey, about her life, and the work that she's doing with the Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Angana, welcome to Hello Kolkata podcast. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you. Good morning to Hello Kolkata, Shobit, and the viewers of Hello Kolkata. It's a pleasure
Thank
to be
you.
here. Thank you.
Pleasure. I know you're very busy, but thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. Before we get into, the majority of your career with the Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry, it would be great if you can give us a little bit background just to sort of, familiarize our viewers and listeners to your background, your growing up days, early influences, and sort of what made you, I would say, inclined towards policy making, Bengal chambers. Take us through that journey a bit.
Well, I did my schooling in South Point, then my graduation in commerce, and then post graduation in mass communication in Jadavpur. And Bengal. In my mass communication, so there were elements of PR, advertisement, and journalism. After the mass communication, I did a freelance with Bengal Chamber through a friend of mine. So I think Bengal Chamber happened more like a manifestation of my kind of being in awe with legacy.
Mhm.
And after it happened, it never felt dull a single day. Every day it is kind of knowing new people, knowing new kind of areas, new topics, meeting different kind of people.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah, and I think legacy continues to be a part of your background as well. South Point, Jadavpur, Bengal, all of these have tremendous legacy and very integral part of what Bengal Kolkata stand for. I'm gonna obviously we'll get into the Bengal Chamber journey, but you've spent 17 plus years with Bengal Chambers of Commerce and Industry. Uh, from your lens, because you've seen it almost for 2 decades, how has BCCNI evolved itself during this time? And tell us a little bit about your evolution also within the larger organization, larger institution.
Yeah, of course. If I talk first about the chamber, being a legacy organization, we believe that it is also very important to understand, appreciate. The only constant is change.
Mhm.
So we always try to reinvent ourselves. Depending on the dynamics of the industry, dynamics of economics, the needs of the members and stakeholders with whom we work. And during this period, we have kind of expanded our, geographical locations. We work in different cities of the country. I myself now, we have set up an office from April 2024 in Delhi. I work from Delhi between
Yeah.
Delhi and Kolkata. And we do our IT and startup anchor program in Bangalore. We do our finance program in Mumbai. We have done agri-tech in Hyderabad. So we have done our manufacturing, tech-enabled manufacturing in Pune. We have
Wow.
done a very interesting GREP summit in Pune. We have done a shipping program, interestingly, though it is done in Kolkata, but we have also done in Guwahati, because how you connect the shipping with the hinterland. So we have worked at various cities. We have also worked in cities outside the country. Like
Yeah.
had a health fair in Chittagong. We had done a net zero program in London. Just a couple of days back, we had a program on entrepreneurship, and in Thailand. We have reinvented ourselves depending on how we can create value for our
Hmm.
members, whether we would like have to explore new areas in terms of new economic areas, or we need to explore new geographical areas. And we have also done a lot of work going beyond the mandate of a quote unquote chamber of commerce in
Hmm.
socio-economic space. uh, we have a huge focus on Sundarbans. We do skill development over there under
Yeah.
Minister's Kaushal Vikas Yojana on mangrove nursery. We train people, the local people, on mangrove nursery, and then employ them in the mangrove plantation, which we are taking care of, or which we are doing in Sundarbans. So
Yeah.
we try and reinvent how we can create newer kind of
Yeah.
values.
Yeah. And obviously, I'll get into the BCCNI's work because we would love to spend the bulk of the conversation focused on that. But also a little curious because you joined BCCNI at a very young age. Like you mentioned, it was your first proper
Yeah.
job. Uh, how has your role also evolved within this institution? And let's talk about a little bit about how you have grown as a person within this institution as well. That would be very interesting to know.
Oh, I always tell this that BCCI has enriched me not just as a professional but also as a person.
Mhm.
The role, I would say, has evolved. Like, I joined as, I think, program manager, looking after a certain program. And
Yeah.
coincidentally, that was the same program which I worked on during my freelance days. It's the Environment and Energy Conclave, which I'm kind of still involved with. However, like, as we have grown, the chamber has grown, and I have also grown in the chamber. You
Yeah.
start looking at the larger picture. You start looking at not just a program or an event. You look at the impact it may create on the ecosystem, or what you may create or curate to
Yeah.
impact the ecosystem,
Yeah.
whether
Yeah.
it is industry sectors or it is other areas. So you start aligning your work on the larger priorities.
Yeah. I'll come to the BCCNI part, and obviously you mentioned that it's no longer just restricted to Bengal because you are you know at all the major, I would say, uh, centers or cores of where innovation is happening. Strong focus on productivity, strong focus on industry across, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's IT tech. For a layman, let's say, for some of our viewers and a little bit about for me as well, who has a very much outsider's view of what the BCCNI stands for today, what would you say to such person about what is the vision, what is the mission that drives the BCCNI, and what is the role that it's playing for Bengal's economy?
Well, chamber of commerce, the role of a chamber of commerce is to create bridge or connect businesses with other verticals of businesses, like maybe manufacturing with IT, agriculture
Yeah.
with energy. So you create network for businesses to connect with each other.
Mhm.
You create bridge between business and the government, and in some cases also you create bridge between the businesses and the society, where the
Yeah.
skill development, employment, these things come into the picture. And of course there are other ecosystem peers, like you have to work with academic institutions these days. Like, startups are a very intrinsic part of the ecosystem. So with
Yeah.
startups you get the investors and things like that. But however, like, focusing on the Bengal Chamber, we believe that, as I mentioned, that we believe in creation value for our members and stakeholders. And we believe that, to do that, we'll have to kind of we'll have to do capacity building programs. What are the
Hmm.
depending on the dynamics of what's happening globally,
Yeah.
we have to kind of create new kind of initiatives for which the members and the business community may take value from. Like as I said about the Sundarbans work,
Yeah.
it is also a carbon sequestration project. So a carbon intensive company or carbon intensive
Yeah.
organization can actually play a part in deforestation and
Yeah.
creating livelihood in a remote area or in a climate vulnerable area like Sundarbans, and at the
Mm.
same time can also get value of carbon credit by involving in the process. So
Yeah.
these are the examples of different kinds of initiatives we create, so that
Yeah.
the value system is multifold to the business and also channelized to the larger ecosystem.
Yeah. And you mentioned obviously, balancing obviously legacy industries, which are the backbone of the nation, but also new age startups which have been in the focus in the last few years, almost a decade now. How would the industry, the Chamber of Industry, balance, let's say, the focus on legacy
Hmm.
versus new age startups? That would be, let's say, one question about around balancing. The
Hmm.
second one I can come to is about, let's say, the core cities versus the larger districts, villages, reaching the penetration there. And finally, yes, it's good to have policy, and we can also talk about what the budget holds for India and for Bengal as a whole. But one is obviously the policy side of things, but how can it play a stronger role on the ground in terms of
Hmm.
execution? You've been a program manager in the early days. Tell us a little bit about those challenges as well. So let's start with the legacy versus the new age startups, new age entrepreneurs that are coming up.
We believe in a holistic approach. So we believe that they complement each other in the sense of, however, the needs of businesses are diverse. They vary with sectors, they vary with scale. I'll give you just an example. Maybe a very large organization, very large company. Their need is to their need is to do right kind of implementation on environment, social governance.
Sure.
Whereas a startup which has come up with an innovation, their need is to kind of have their IPR in place so that they can hit the market. So
Mm.
our job is to, understand these needs and cater to the needs accordingly. So, but there are places where large companies and startups, they sync with each other. For
Hmm.
example, a health tech startup may need to work with hospitals to build its proof of concept, right?
Sure.
So our job is also to fill in those, bridges. So that is how this concept of, balancing the large scale ones and the startups. Then you mentioned the major cities and
Cities and, yeah,
the
districts and villages.
districts, right?
Yeah.
Yes, because the as the economy has to kind of grow, for inclusive growth, it is important that the value system or the value is channelized in different strata. So of course, if I'm focusing on Kolkata has its own traction,
Yeah.
being a major city of the country, major city in the eastern India. But apart from that, we also do regular engagement in district. I'll tell you. So if I am focusing the industrial regions like
Hmm.
Holdia, Durgapur, Sansol,
Yeah.
so we do engagements and programs over there which focus on industrial development with new age knowledge, new age technologies, keeping the ecological sustainability in mind. So
Hmm.
that is one part of it. Then we did manufacturing exhibition, which was mainly focusing on vendor onboarding few years back in Kharagpur. Then
Hmm.
we do have regular engagements in North Bengal, including youth engagement, like sports events and programs like that. So this is how we try and kind of bring different players in different kind of roles in the overall planning.
Yeah. Yeah. And the last one was around, the policy side of things, policy advocacy versus the on ground execution, and you have first hand experience on both sides now. How would you say that balance is struck?
Again, I will kind of these policy and executions, they also kind of, they need to complement with each other, because if they stand on their own, then the purposes would not be served. Like for policies, if at at government level you are having policies that
Hmm.
need to be communicated to the industry, and
Hmm.
accordingly the capacities of the industry, both large industries and the MSMEs, have to be built.
Hmm.
So there's a role of chambers of commerce. There's how Bengal Chamber kind of engage in this. On the other side, chambers of commerce, we submit recommendations to the government, and in many cases we find that from our on the ground activities we gain insights of building the
Hmm.
recommendations, of creating the recommendations.
Very interesting. And on the policy side, probably this brings me to my next question. Why was it important for the Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry to have a presence and an office in Delhi? Is it to be closer to the powers that make the policies? Does it facilitate, benefit, visibility? What would your take on this be?
Well, if I look at the needs of our members, the business community, so their needs, if we do not kind of grow ourselves, if we do not stretch our boundaries and network, we'll not be able to do justice to our members also in terms of creating the value. So even when we were not in Delhi, we were working from Kolkata. We used to work with, the central government, with different embassies, apart from working very closely with the consulates in Kolkata. So being in Delhi, it is more convenient to
Yeah.
work with the players in the NCR, be it the central government, be it the embassies. We also work closely with PSUs,
Hmm.
think tanks, and it helps us to also kind of connect our members what they need in the NCR region, whether it is government intervention, whether it is market intervention,
Hmm.
to kind of for their businesses.
Yeah, yeah. And probably, Angana, sometime during a conversation, we'll also, talk about what impact or influence do you see this budget have on India and Bengal as a whole, because you're, very, very close to all these policies and programs that are planned to be implemented over the next year, over the next 5 years, and it includes multiple things, specifically on MSMEs, building corridors for faster transport, supply chain management, and also we can talk about those things as well. But before we go there, wanted to sort of uh, deep dive a little into the Bengal scenario, and we as a page, as a community, we try to share positive stories about Kolkata, about Bengal to our audience, not just within the state, but also beyond, the city, beyond the country. Uh, However, there is always this, I would say, pushback to our narrative of positivity that companies are leaving Bengal. We continue to hear some of those things coming up. Sometimes they are on social media, sometimes they are on mainstream newspapers. What does your experience working with the industry, different sectors, say? Does it have any credibility that companies are actually leaving Bengal, or do you see it's absolutely counter to what some of these questions are?
So I was working with my colleagues, doing a little bit of fact finding, and what
Hmm.
we found that we have got registered companies double from 1.25 lakh in 2010 to
Hmm.
2.5 lakh by July 2025, with
Hmm.
8353 new incorporations in FY 25,
Yeah.
which is more than the relocation, which is like as per the number 366 in FY 25. So this is the number part of it. But however, apart from that, if I go by the softer part of it, we have heard, very senior business leaders, industrialists talk about their experience and the positive experience of doing business in Bengal.
Yeah.
And if I go further, the what we normally know that it is still a power surplus state,
Yeah.
and we have still availability of water,
Hmm.
and it has a diverse landscape, which itself is also a potential for different kind of business opportunities, indigenous business opportunities. I
Yeah.
myself, I'm very impressed with this startup kind of we have, because I have worked with them very closely. And
Yeah.
a little bit going back to the district part of it, when we started the incubation with Webel, it's Webel BCCI Tech Incubation Center,
Yeah.
the first batch with 6 startups, coincidentally, all of them were from districts. So that talks about the talent across the length and breadth of
Yeah.
the state.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
And of
think,
course, we have the location that, I
yeah.
mean, that is inherent to us. I
Yeah.
mean, if you go to Shiliguri, we
Yeah.
went for an office trip, and I had two colleagues that, before going in that trip, we went to Bindu, which is kind of close to Bhutan,
Yeah.
and we went to the Fulbari border. Ah, so, and so in the same trip, we covered like the Bhutan part of it and the Bangladesh part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think definitely there are so many strategic advantages that Bengal has, and I believe that sometimes, obviously, for various reasons, people, agencies have vested interests in sharing some narratives that, oh, 6,000 companies left between X year and Y year, but obviously nobody highlights that within the same period how many new companies were incorporated, right? So I think it's always, you present one side of the statistics and you leave out the other, which doesn't suit your narrative. So that's something that has happened in Indian polity for ages, and media is always quick to pick up some headlines that sort of generate reaction. um, from your experience, Angana, what are the big bets that, from your lens, because obviously you are at the center point of this institution, but from the overall chamber's lens also, what are some of the key sectors that Bengal Kolkata can bet on to take it forward in the next 5 years, 10 years, and provide more employment, more livelihood for the people?
Well, IT and ITES, that's always been kind of a focus area. And I have seen, again, by experience of working with them, our homegrown MSME IT companies, they have grown significantly.
Yeah.
That is because when we talk about IT investment, we only focus on the larger companies, which
Yeah.
are also kind of growing. Like we have the likes of LTI Mindtree expanding, Infosys coming, Wipro. I think Reliance also announced an AI data center in the last VGBS. So, but apart from that, I always talk about the MSME IT companies who are growing and who are creating a very strong base of employment generation.
Yeah.
So, in fact, from our own, initiative, what last year in Bangalore, we did the Techie Summit. This one organization called Tredence, they committed Kolkata as their key hub, and in this Jan 2022, they opened their AI Innovation Delivery Center, hiring, I think, around 300 AI data engineers, which will grow in number now. So IT is one, and of course MSME is another. MSME manufacturing, and especially when we were looking at this year's budget also. I mean the
Yes.
union budget, you'll find there's a huge focus of manufacturing
Yeah.
and MSME push. Government of West Bengal also has a very focus kind of work on MSME. So MSMEs are another sector, MSME manufacturing. Health, of course, health. education, because as Bengalis we always prioritize on education.
Yeah.
So providing quality educations and providing also educations to across the state, that is another area.
Yeah.
uh, a little bit we can see on the development in new areas like e-mobility and one,
Mhm.
like e-bike,
Yeah.
e-cycle.
Yeah.
So again, keeping the global priorities in mind and also focusing on the manufacturing and MSME part, I think that is another area.
Yeah.
We have got solar companies. If I'm talking about clean energy, solar companies, we have major solar company from the state,
Yeah.
and there are a few more solar companies also doing good. So that is another area we can kind of work on.
Yeah. And obviously there is so much to look forward to and be hopeful. And I guess what you were referring to was the big push, the fund for MSMEs that was announced in the budget to invest heavily in that sector. I'm also curious because you mentioned it earlier, the partnership, the Tech Incubation Center with Webel. Uh, Tell us a little bit about how this vision of partnership came about. Why did the chamber feel this was needed, and what is it solving for? Let's say from the for the startups through this.
Well, it started at the time of when Mr. Chandrasekhar Ghosh was our president, and so that and this Webel BCCI Tech Incubation Center still now is supported by Bandhan.
Hmm.
We had this conversation with Dadan, IT, ACS, Sri Devashishan, and we wanted to create an incubation center where we will, technology incubation center, where we will identify potential startups
Hmm.
whom we will mentor. And once they start kind of showing further potentials, we'll connect them with finances, but finances came later. We've started
Yeah.
connecting them with stakeholders who can help them to grow further other than finances also. uh, uh, so by doing, when we started, we've also had they were not even companies, the
Yeah.
entrepreneurs or potential entrepreneurs came with ideas. So we
Hmm.
started working on registering them and helping them in doing their IPR, as I was mentioning. And
Yeah.
then of course now they have also matured, and we are getting more matured startups also, that also talk about probably the maturity of the startups of the in the ecosystem is also growing.
Hmm.
So this is how it kind of started, and this is the focus of the Webel BCCI Tech Incubation Center.
Yeah. And and from
Now
this.
we do our annual program. What I said, the Techie
Yeah.
Summit. The idea
Hmm.
of doing the Techie Summit is to create, do it in Bangalore to get investors across the country from
Yeah.
NCR, from Mumbai, Bangalore itself, and also angel investors from Kolkata travel there. So we do a 2.5 day program. It's like a road show of Bengal's IT potential,
Yeah.
showcasing the success stories of our entrepreneurs or homegrown entrepreneurs and startups. Our Honorable MIC of IT, and Sri Babul Supriya, he has traveled all
Mhm.
for all the editions, and he has also pitched for Bengal. So
Yeah.
this all come under our initiative, start or at least started with our initiative of the incubation of pushing good startups.
Yeah, and Angana, if you can sort of share a little bit about what kinds of startups that you are seeing gain more traction, more, I would say, more talented potential entrepreneurs focusing on certain kinds of sectors or solving certain kinds of problems. From your experience, what have been a few highlights that you felt, okay, this is real innovation coming from Bengal?
Well, now we actually see quite a number of good deep tech startups, like in
Mm.
cyber forensic and other areas. However, if I look at sector-wise focus, if I am looking at the kind of the activities of our incubation, we have seen health tech startups doing good.
Yeah.
We have seen space tech startups doing good.
Yes.
And we have also seen some in the climate tech slash agri tech
Yeah.
areas.
Yeah, and I think we were very, very lucky that we were able to have some of these entrepreneurs, who are working in this space, join us, and we are obviously hoping that, uh, Dr. Tapun Mishra of Shishi Radar, I have, reached out to him. Hopefully, we'll connect soon. But a lot of people that we have so far spoken to, especially in deep tech, cyber security that you mentioned, we spoke with somebody called Tovik Haldar from Hornet. We spoke with Anurita from Genovation. So yeah, I mean, good work is happening. I think what it takes is sort of championing them, being advocating for them, and often the narrative is so strongly pushed that the startups only happen in Bangalore and Hyderabad, that we don't always get pulled into that conversation. So taking that point forward, uh, looking at, because you have been part of various of these engagements in different parts of other parts of the country, what can Bengal slash Kolkata do better to attract investors, to attract talent, and to attract more companies? And also, what can the chambers do uh, from its learnings from other states, other pockets where, let's say, innovation industry is sort of booming very, very quickly?
What in general all stakeholders, all well wishers of Bengal can do
Hmm.
is focusing on what we are doing good, what we are good at,
Hmm.
talking about that and promoting that, creating positive narrative about that, which
Sure.
is like more evidence based, experience oriented. And there are many actually good experience of working in Bengal. There are many good as I mentioned, success stories in Bengal. We need to create positive narrative around this,
Yeah.
and that is one thing as a whole we'll have to do. And what we kind of learn, there's no end of learning, and you can always learn. That's the beauty of traveling and working in different
Yeah.
parts of the world and the country, that you can learn from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, what we learn, so that is like where we should know that how we should pitch ourselves well. That is how we found a very, very major kind of difference among our own startups when we started doing the Techie Summit in Bangalore, putting
Hmm.
them in kind of a, at a place where you get eyeballs from across the country on startups.
Yeah.
That created kind of change their body language, that created kind of change their level of confidence.
Yeah.
So gaining experience from rest of the country and rest of the world, and channelizing those experience into your own work. If
Hmm.
collaborations are needed, explore the collaborations. It is also important that you also fine tune your own work, keep aligning with where the countries moving forward, where the global
Yeah.
dynamics are taking place.
Yeah. 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 And obviously one of the global, yes, because obviously it affects everybody. uh, Obviously you mentioned the strong focus on sustainability, climate conversations that the chambers has. Tell us a little bit about uh, why was BCCNI Act COP26 so significant for the institution, for the organization, and some things that were eye openers that being there learned from this experience.
Of course, participating in a global event, that gives you a different kind of exposure. Now, how we got into the picture is, we were invited to present a 90 minutes session on e-mobility, and our focus on e-mobility is focusing on how it can kind of help in last mile connect,
Yeah.
thereby creating green jobs and also gender equality. So and it was in 2021, and I think in 2020, Kolkata was showcased in IES, International Energy Agency's publication
Mhm.
for our e-mobility in public transport for electric buses.
Mhm.
So we were at that time working very strongly in e-mobility space, in the space of connecting the stakeholders, the power, the manufacturers, and we also did an vehicle carnival with government of West Bengal at Newtown. So and we kind of started looking at in this new space of e-mobility, what are the
Mhm.
other impacts which may be created
Mhm.
in a country like India, and also if I'm talking about the state, where last mile connect is important, where
Mhm.
you need to have kind of indigenous vehicles to connect.
Yeah.
So e-mobility play an important role, or can play an important role, where you can make the the appropriate vehicles to connect in the last mile, or you can the vehicles which are already there, you can empower
Mhm.
them as e-mobility vehicles. So thereby you are creating green jobs, and if
Yeah.
you can channelize it appropriately, if the mobility of women in the workforce can be enhanced, that also helps in both women empowerment and also economy as a whole, because you are having more
Yeah.
participation of women. So that's how we were invited to COP26 to kind of present this concept, plus not just concepts, also present some of the case studies which have already taken place. And
Mhm.
so that's how Bengal Chambers, positioning in COP26 was. And
Mhm.
of course, we had a different kind of learning, being in the arena of global discussions on
Yeah.
climate change,
Yeah.
meeting
And
different kind of policymakers and listening to them and communicating with them. Yeah.
yeah. And obviously, you mentioned, India has its own advantages and challenges. Um, from your experience, have you seen, I mean, apart from the whole ESG push that's been happening for the last few years, very consciously, do you, from your experience, see that Indian businesses are really receptive to the concepts of sustainability? Is it purely because they have to do it for compliance, or do they actually believe that sustainable practices, businesses will survive longer and be more in consonance with the nature and the climate that they're operating in?
I share this everywhere. I think someone, if listening to me, multiple forums will hear the same thing. But I kind of believe in this from my personal experience. So when I
Hmm.
started my work, the committee which was I was working with my boss was Energy and Environment Committee.
Yeah.
So that's from the beginning of my work life. I am working in this. So it
Yeah.
was a vertical. It was a committee. It still is, but
Hmm.
however, all our energy environment, and at that time we own the not just we, like in general, it meant clean energy. So then we kind of started understanding that energy environment, and going beyond energy environment sustainability. Of course, this sustainable development goals, 17 goals came up,
Yeah.
and we started understanding that women empowerment, poverty eradication, all these actually is a
Interlinked.
holistic concept of
Yeah.
sustainability, and all are interrelated.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, so when I started the work, so this energy environment related work, I used to kind of curate or do, because it was kind of a vertical centric work. But these days we find that my colleague who's looking after manufacturing, my colleague who's looking after agriculture, my colleague
Hmm.
who's looking after shipping, they are also taking up sustainability related initiatives. What it talks about the businesses or the stakeholders who are in manufacturing, who are in agriculture, who are in shipping. They are also getting kind of having this understanding that from their vertical, sustainability related understanding, dialogues, knowing technologies, and also, of course,
Mm.
reporting are important. So
Yeah.
I believe this is a positive change, but of course, there's, we have to work more consistently, and we have to, work. There's a lot of work to be done. But at a very, very personal level of my work, I have found that there's a shift from looking at sustainability as a vertical, rather looking it as a horizontal, and looking it as a horizontal concept.
Yeah. Yeah. And uh, Angana, I would like to sort of also pick your brains a little bit on a couple of things. One is obviously, I'm sure the budget that was announced yesterday has been analyzed by pundits and experts. But what is your key takeaway from the budget that really impacts the work that the Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry is doing? Are there certain things that that okay, this is a big I would say impetus to what we are doing and planning to do?
Yes, of course, for a chambers of commerce, whatever the budget presentation is, it is important that we, align our activities, at least curate some of the activities aligning with the budget presentation. Or else, like, we will kind of deviate ourselves from the national priorities. So, and some of the areas in this budget, since it kind of connects Bengal slash East,
Mm.
so, as a chamber of commerce from this part of the country, we'll align our activities, whether it is logistics, whether economic corridor, whether it is logistics, or whether it is now this, this focus on design was also there
Yeah.
in this budget, and of course the MSME push. So we'll have to kind of align our activities uh, for our stakeholders so that they are in sync with the national priorities. Some of the areas we found got kind of more focus in the budget. Like, I was very interested hearing about the Big Cat Summit.
Yeah.
So we have Sundarbans. So how they can kind of, so there's kind of a priority on wildlife,
True.
and the species. So how we can align that. Then of course there's a focus on mental health. That
Yeah.
is kind of the, we have a health committee, we also have a lifestyle committee. Both ways we have focus on mental health. So how we can work more on mental health
Yeah.
space, whether we are working with the government or whether working with the businesses. So some of the verticals we can pick up,
Mm.
which were kind of prioritized in budget. Skill development, of course, we do a substantial work in skill development, and we can work further on skill
Yeah. Yeah.
development.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
there was
was
a
just
focus on Purvadaya also. I was happy to
yeah.
see that, the potentials of the East and the Northeast are being kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
focused. So that's something very close to our heart.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think a couple of things just immediately stood out, and obviously, reading about it and little bit about how things are moving. The push to MSMEs was very, very heartening because the fund that has been announced, because obviously Bengal leads in the number of MSMEs and women-led MSMEs, so that's extremely important for us. Tourism was highlighted,
Tourism,
and we have so many amazing places that can become hubs and already have become hubs. Textile got a push. And the one thing that you mentioned, that I believe you are referring to, the animators, the graphic artists, the ABGCs, and there's so much talent in Kolkata and Bengal who can become, pick up content creation, which is obviously something that has taken the world and social media by storm. So there is so many positives that we can carry. Obviously, the other side is it's a mixed budget, no major policy changes happened. All of those things, the business and the industry are reacting to, but purely from an overall ecosystem push, I think there are so many things that Bengal definitely can benefit from. The Siliguri Varanasi corridor, high speed trains for logistics and supply chain. So all of that, all good. I think what uh, I would like to ask you is, at the cusp of where we are today, uh, what do you see that Bengal? I mean, you did mention that, focus on the positives. We are doing something so well, and not always, get swayed by the negative sentiments. From your lens, for the next 5 to 10 years, what are some of the key things that Bengal needs to focus on to sort of, pick up pace and change this narrative where we are somewhere, behind the, let's say, the Maharashtras and the Gujarats and Andhra Pradeshes of the world.
One thing I must mention that in my social media also I have engaged on this. That is, there's you will see a very interesting promotion by the tourism department of government of West Bengal these days,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
they are picking up very niche kind of tourism. They're very niche kind of locations and promoting them with their
Yeah.
attractions. In fact, I was extremely interested and fascinated, saying that in the Sandakphu trekking trail, there's a
Yeah.
place called Kala Pokri. Not many people know about it. And I
Okay.
found a post of tourism department of government of West Bengal in Kala Pokri. So it was very well researched. So behind the
Yeah.
post, whatever the research was very well researched. So this is something I think we are doing really good as Bengal. We all know that we are blessed with
Hidden gems.
lands.
Yeah, yeah, hidden
We
gems are there.
exactly we are, and we are blessed with landscapes. So we can do miracles with our landscapes in tourism.
Yeah.
And so I think that work has started. Bengal Chamber is also working in tourism space with government of West Bengal and ITC. There was an MOU between government of West Bengal, ITC, and Bengal Chamber. So we are also working in tourism space. So tourism is certainly one area, and I think we can also work on the MSME manufacturing. MSME manufacturing, we helping the MSME manufacturing. Adopting technology and also adapting quality and standards, that is important for for if they want to go for the larger leap of working with large companies or kind of exporting. So that is another area we can work on. Of course, we have huge talent which can be kind of channelized for IT
Yeah.
industries. Interestingly, with sectors like, even in IT, with sectors like semiconductors, which we have
Yes.
this new investment by Global Foundries. Interesting part of semiconductors is you can kind of have involvement in terms of resources from different verticals of engineering, not
Yeah.
just computer sciences.
Yeah.
So that is another area I think we can focus on.
Yeah, and I think semiconductor and chips became a very strong focus to indigenously develop chips, and also mining of rare earths, and then from that to the research and development and manufacture, so that the end-to-end value chain is owned by the country indigenously. I think that's great to
And
reduce
education
dependence.
and health, I think, need to be the constant, not just for economic development, but for any kind of economy or kind of the overall citizenship requirement.
Yeah.
Looking at long terms, looking at
Yeah.
short terms, education and health need to be constant.
Yeah, yeah. Angana, I'll sort of come to the last segment, which I want to talk to you about. It's about a little close to your heart as well, because historically, there's an additional challenge of being a woman leader in policy and industry spaces. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but from your days of joining the organization in the last 17 years, how have you seen that change from the lens of a woman in this policy, power corridors, industry? And that's the first part. And the second part would be to young women who are on the cusp of joining similar career paths. What would your advice to them be, who are going into policy, public facing institutional roles? What your advice to them would be?
As a whole, I would like, if I look at women's participation in workspace. Of course, we are getting more number of women participation in our workspace.
Mm.
uh, if I'm so there are different kinds of strata, or different kinds of skill level and you can have women participation one. But however, it is more important, or I won't say more important, but it is important to have more women participation at boardrooms and at CXO levels,
Mhm.
to kind of make the ecosystem more kind of inclusive towards women, and
Yeah.
not just inclusive towards women, to also kind of encourage more women to come up and join the workforce from different kind of socio-economic and educational background. That is one part of it. Now, coming for young women who are joining, if I'm talking about, you mentioned policy, you mentioned, right?
Yeah.
It is important to have a focus on the inclusive growth, and in areas where the young women are working. Inclusive growth is something when we have this, approach or vision for having diverse participation and kind
Yeah.
of enabling that through our policies. It has a wider and larger impact.
Yeah. No, very, very well said. Very beautifully said. Angana, before we wrap up, we have a short rapid fire. So we'll do that and then we'll get into the closing piece. You currently straddle between Kolkata, Delhi. Obviously, you are other places as well. But Kolkata, Delhi, current favorite.
Always Kolkata.
Okay. Um, you worked you worked on both sides, policy and execution. What would you pick?
My favorite execution.
Yeah, yeah. Um, your current, interest level is higher with startups or legacy businesses?
Both.
Both. Okay. If you had to sum up the budget in a word or a sentence, what would you say?
Well, forward looking, wider, may not be deeper.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. One underrated sector in Bengal that can definitely do with more focus, more investment.
Agriculture, I do not know whether underrated, but we can do a lot more work in agriculture.
Okay. Yeah. From your personal experience, one book or habit that has shaped your leadership and made you better at what you do.
I'd like to refer to a film, The Intern, in this
Hmm.
case.
Okay. And why would you say that? I know Robert
Well,
De Niro, Annie Hathaway, if that's the one you're referring to.
yes, yes, yes. It
Yes.
kind of
Yes.
talks about leadership from a different perspective altogether.
Hmm.
And you will
Very
not
interesting.
understand who was actually the leader, the mentee or
Yeah.
the mentor. The
Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting. One word to describe Kolkata/Bengal's future.
city of joy.
Okay. Yeah. Angana, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for taking so much time to speak to us. I know you've already shared, and obviously it's very evident the passion and the love that you feel for the city, for the state, and obviously you're working, tirelessly for improving everything that we do here. Um, what keeps you excited after 17 years at BCCNI, working for Bengal for the, let's say, the next 5 years, next 10 years?
I somehow feel we can always do more work. We can always do newer kind of work. That's always I look forward to. Of course, as I mentioned, meeting different kind of peoples accomplished from different works of life.
Hmm.
That's learning new areas of work. Like, few years back we did not talk about semiconductor, right?
Yeah.
Now we are talking about semiconductor. So these are the things which kind of keep me going. I think the stimulation of the intellectual and the knowledge exposure, that always keeps me going.
Yeah.
I think that's also very intrinsic to Bengal. We have this strong foundation of knowledge which we can kind of leverage more.
Yeah, absolutely. Last question. How can entrepreneurs, businesses, young professionals meaningfully engage with BCCNI? What's the best way to understand, how BCCNI can help them, support them? What would your direction be?
Of course, incubation is one of the areas, as I mentioned.
Yeah.
Apart from that, we do a lot of uh, curated courses, like at as now we are this an AI/ML course is going on with IIEST. We will run a cybersecurity course in in some time, in few days. So why this course? The uniqueness of this courses are this: the content of the courses are created by the industry, and
Mhm.
we get into this kind of courses because we believe that will help in upskilling, and it is kind of help in fulfilling the industry academia connect. While you are
Yeah.
graduating from an academia and getting into industry, you will get kind of the flavor or the needs of the industry. You will be able to kind of engage more on that. So
Yeah.
those are one area. Incubation is one area. We do a lot of quizzes. Our IT quiz is for students only.
Yeah.
We have other quizzes which are open quizzes where students may also participate. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
also gives those quizzes also give an opportunity for
I think there
youths to
was one
connect
quiz
with.
recently happened with Charanpreet Singh was the quiz master. Yeah, yeah, yeah. CP sir has been on our podcast as well. Wonderful gentleman. And I used to quiz when I was a kid, but now it's out of practice. But yeah, I was very interested to see BCCNI doing quizzes. I think
We
piques the
also do
curiosity.
sports programs.
Hmm. Yeah,
So those are also another area where youths may take part. So if
wonderful. And
someone can keep eye on our social media and our website, these programs
yeah,
are announced, and accordingly they can pick up their areas of interest.
yeah. No, thank you so much, Angana, for taking the time. Um, from Kolkata Calling side, it's been a pleasure listening to you. Thank you so much for not just the work that you do, but also having this unbelievably positive, passionate, I would say, outlook towards the city, towards the state. And it keeps us motivated to continue to do the work that we are doing in bringing positive stories about the city and the state for our viewers and listeners. So before we close our podcast today, I'm gonna any parting words, closing words to the audience listening, to the people of Bengal. The stage is yours.
Thank you, but I must also appreciate Hello Kolkata for having this initiative, which helps in, as I mentioned, building this positive narration about Bengal and Kolkata. And of course, podcast has huge reach, so that's an incredible job you are also doing. So I will kind of reach out to the viewers. So keep following the pages of Hello Kolkata. I believe we will get more motivating stories. And of course, as long as Bengal Chamber is concerned, that we love to work with stakeholders who can create value in our business and economy. Through our social media pages or through our website, you can always connect with us. I'm quite active in LinkedIn also, so do join us in conversations.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much, Angana. It's been a pleasure. With that message from her to all the viewers and listeners, as well as all the people from Bengal, we'll close our podcast of Hello Kolkata today. Thank you so much, Angana.
Thank you. Thank you.